Hello and welcome to A Time to Think, Volume 02.02. Today I want to talk about the Big Bang Theory, the origin of the universe, the beginning of all things. How did it all start? How did the universe come to be? I don't know. I wasn't here at the beginning. I could ask Mom. No. That's hateful. That was mean. She's not that old. Because, scientists believe that the universe is like 13.8-ish billion years old. Don't know if I believe that, but, they're smart, I'm not, so maybe it is. I don't know. Anyway, but to start, I want to emphasize, first thing, that the Big Bang Theory is a theory, okay? So Big Bang Theory, it's part of the name, theory. See, there's no one on the earth that was here 13.8 billion years ago. So we don't know. I mean, we can look at the universe and kind of try to extrapolate some, okay, it's doing this now, which maybe a million years ago it was doing that, or, so on. But none of us were here. We don't know. We can, like I said, look at the here and now and, try to draw some conclusions, but, we don't know. That's why it's a theory, because we don't really know. But basically, and this is extremely important to understand really what the Big Bang Theory says, and whether it really makes sense. You see, basically, as I understand it, and I've been looking at the Big Bang Theory article on Wikipedia, so you may recognize, if you've ever read that, some things I'll mention here in a moment may be familiar then, or if you're a scientist or whatever. Some of this may sound, familiar to you. Of course, I may be babbling, and Lord knows what kind of insane rambling and babbling you're going to hear from me during this particular episode. But anyway, the long and short of it is that basically scientists, from what I understand, are looking at the here and now and seeing that the universe is expanding. Okay? So they're taking this tiny, microscopic little slice of time, assuming that they're right and the universe is 13.8 billion years old, they're looking at how many years have we observed that have we known that the universe is expanding? I mean, 50, 100? I don't know. I mean, telescopes have been around a while, but I mean, did they realize, redshift and, all that? But you're taking this little tiny little slice of time and saying, okay, it's expanding. So if we go backwards in time, then it's going this direction. And so what scientists have done, or what they have theorized, is that basically if you have the universe expanding at this rate, you go backwards 13.8 approximately billion years, plus or minus, whatever, million years or two here and there. But if you go back in time, then everything was all together. And in the article on Wikipedia, um, there there are words like, infinite density, and infinite temperature, singularity, and things like that, which basically to me is saying that, you go back far enough and you've got some infinitely dense, infinitely hot, something that one day just expanded. Just, 13 point some billion years ago, but just whoop, started expanding. Well, I think the first thing to know, again, other than that none of us were here at that time, and that we're looking at the tiniest little fraction of that period, if the universe has indeed existed for that period, and we're drawing all sorts of conclusions. And I so wish I had a better example. I hope somebody can come up with a better example than this, but let's just take for it just stupid example, because I'm not the brightest bulb in the flower bed. Anyway, what if you looked at the human heart for a tiny, tiny fraction of time? It contracts, and then it releases and expands. The muscle contracts, and then it releases, because muscles pull, right? So it's not pulled to contract and then pulled open, right? So it relaxes and then fills with blood, right? Isn't that, forgive me, I'm not a biologist or a doctor or a whatever. But if you take just the tiniest fraction of time and you're seeing the heart contract, you might say, well, if you're looking linearly this direction, then it's going to continue contracting forever until it becomes a black hole. I know a few people with black holes where they should have hearts. Yeah, boy, do I know them. You know who you are. Or if it's during that period of time where the heart relaxes and starts expanding, if you're only looking at that expansion, then you might say, well, it's going to keep on expanding until it fills the whole chest cavity and then explodes outwards forever and ever and becomes bigger than the universe. And don't know anyone with a heart that big, well, other than God, I guess. But to me, it seems, it doesn't make sense to me that you would take some tiny finite little period of time and then extrapolate all of existence from that one little slice. You know what I mean? You can't say, can you say, I don't believe you can say that the universe is expanding, which means if you go back in time, it will contract. If you keep going backwards in time, 13.8 billion years ago, it was a singularity of infinite density and infinite temperature. Well, what caused it to expand then? Where did it come from? Where did that singularity come from? See, this is incredibly important that you get this into your head. The Big Bang Theory does not describe how energy, time, and space came to be. All it says, all this theory says, is that it's expanding. So if you go backwards in time, it started as one little singularity or one big singularity or whatever. That one day just expanded. Wow, that tells us really nothing. How did the universe begin? See, here's my fault, and this is an idiot, thinking aloud. So forgive me. But I don't believe the universe is infinitely old. Because if it were infinitely old, it would be infinitely old now. And don't things, when they get don't physical things like wear out, run down? I mean, if time has existed back for all of eternity and the universe has existed for all of that eternity, does that make sense? No, no, no. The Big Bang Theory describes a possible beginning. So what was before the beginning? Okay, so if to me, as I understand it, and again, I'm not anybody smart. I ain't real smart. But if the beginning of matter, energy, and time, if all of those things had a beginning, then prior to that, what was there? If there was no, if there was a specific point in time in the past where things began, then there was some period prior to that when those things did not exist. So you can't say that the energy came from matter, because then if that was the beginning, well, if energy came from matter, then something did exist prior to that energy, which means the beginning was not the beginning. So you can't say there was energy and that created the matter, and you can't say there was matter and that created the energy, or the whatever. You can't say that prior to this, singularity, there was something, and still call that singularity and that Big Bang the beginning, because if there was anything prior to that, then the beginning, Big Bang, was not really the beginning, right? Makes some sense? Maybe not. It's getting late, so I'm probably not making sense anymore. But I'm going to try. Go a little further here. Okay, so prior to that, if there was no energy, there was no time, and there was no matter, what existed? What caused those things, those physical things, to begin? I know, teacher, pick me, pick me, pick me. I know. God. Something outside of that time, energy, matter, space, what have you, existed before the time, energy, matter, space, what have you. And that was outside of those things. What fits that? What do we know of? Who do we know of that kind of fits that? Outside of time and matter and energy and space, nothing physical. Wow. To me, wow. Well, that's God. There you go. The end, right? I mean, geez, people. Again, last thing I want to say. Well, maybe not. The Big Bang Theory does not describe where and how energy, time, and space began. See what I'm saying? So you can't just say, oh, well, scientists say this is how it started. No, the Big Bang Theory doesn't address how it started. It just says that if you go backwards from here and things are going this direction now, you go backwards and you're to here. Okay, well, that theory tells us really nothing, but that they believe that something expanding now, going backwards, must be contracting all the way to a particular point in time, 13.8 billion years ago, and then everything was one giant microscopic, I don't know, was it big, was it not, I don't know, it was a singularity. That doesn't describe how things started. So think about that for just a little while, and think about how if it did have a beginning, which makes sense, then what made it begin? What started it? Where did the initial energy, what created it? Who created it? I know. Like I said, teacher, pick me. So anyway, something to think about. Okay? So that's it for today. It's getting dark. I think I'll go in. I appreciate that you took the time to watch. And if you have any positive feedback, put it in the comments. Otherwise, just if you don't have nothing nice to say. Okay, just kidding. Anyway, have a nice day.